Elena Rodriguez had spent 10 years trying to forget the weapons she'd created, the antidotes she'd developed, and the classified laboratories where she'd worked. Until domestic terrorists brought chemical warfare to Lincoln High School, and she was the only one who could stop it. Welcome to Daily Story. Before we dive into this extraordinary tale of hidden expertise and impossible choices, tell us in the comments what city you're watching from today. And if you believe stories like these deserve to be told, hit that subscribe button to join our community. The morning bell at Lincoln High School rang at 7:45 a.m., just as it had every school day for the past 8 years. Students shuffled through hallways lined with faded motivational posters, their backpacks heavy with textbooks and the weight of teenage concerns. In room 204, Dr. Elena Rodriguez was already setting up for her first period advanced placement chemistry class. At 41, Elena had the patient demeanor and practical appearance that marked her as a dedicated teacher. She wore safety glasses pushed up on her forehead, a lab coat over sensible clothes, and always kept her dark hair tied back in a neat bun. Her students called her Dr. R, and knew her as the teacher who actually made chemistry interesting, even if she was obsessively strict about lab safety procedures. Elena's classroom was her sanctuary, precisely organized, meticulously maintained, and equipped with modern lab stations that she had personally selected and calibrated. The periodic table on her wall was annotated with her own handwritten notes, and her supply cabinets were arranged with military precision. Most teachers kept coffee mugs and family photos on their desks. Elena kept pH meters and molecular models. To her colleagues, Elena Rodriguez was the kind of teacher every school needed: brilliant, dedicated, and quietly competent. She had arrived at Lincoln High 8 years ago with impeccable credentials: a PhD in chemical engineering from MIT, advanced degrees in biochemistry and materials science, and what appeared to be several years of private sector research experience. What the school district didn't know, what her principal couldn't have guessed from her background check, was that Dr. Elena Rodriguez had spent 12 years developing some of the most lethal chemical weapons in American military history. Code name: Catalyst. Her work at classified facilities had created nerve agents so precise they could eliminate specific targets without affecting anyone standing 3 feet away. The transition from weapons research to high school teaching had been part of a carefully planned psychological rehabilitation. After 12 years of creating death in laboratory settings, Elena had requested reassignment to work that preserved life instead of ending it. Teaching chemistry to teenagers was as far from biological warfare as she could imagine while still using her scientific expertise. Her apartment near the school was spartanly furnished but comfortable. She lived alone, maintained minimal social contacts, and had built the kind of routine that helped former weapons scientists adjust to civilian life. She graded papers in the evenings, attended faculty meetings, and had even started dating Michael, the school's physics teacher, who made her laugh and never asked why she sometimes woke up from nightmares about laboratory accidents. Elena had found peace in the predictable rhythms of academic life. Each semester brought new students to challenge with the wonders of chemistry, minds she could shape toward constructive rather than destructive applications of science. She taught them about chemical bonds and molecular structures, about reactions that created rather than destroyed. But some knowledge, once acquired, never fully disappears. The morning of October 15th started like any other. Elena arrived at school at 7:15 a.m., unlocked her classroom, and began preparing for her AP chemistry lesson on organic compounds. 26 students would arrive in 30 minutes, ready to learn about carbon chains and functional groups. At 7:52 a.m., 7 minutes after the morning bell, Elena heard an unusual sound from the ventilation system, a soft hissing that shouldn't have been there. As a chemistry teacher, she was trained to recognize signs of gas leaks or chemical hazards. As a former weapons scientist, she recognized something much more dangerous. The sound pattern was too regular to be a mechanical malfunction. Someone was deliberately releasing something into the school's air circulation system. Elena immediately activated the emergency ventilation shutdown from the control panel in her classroom, a safety feature most teachers didn't know existed. Then she opened her locked supply cabinet and retrieved equipment that wasn't listed in any school inventory: military-grade chemical detection strips, portable spectrometers, and protective gear that could withstand exposure to weapons-grade toxins. The detection strips turned bright red within seconds. VX nerve agent, one of the most lethal chemical weapons ever created. Elena's blood ran cold as she realized what was happening. Someone was conducting a chemical weapons attack on Lincoln High School, and they were using a compound she had helped perfect 12 years ago. She grabbed the school's PA microphone and made an announcement that would save hundreds of lives. "This is Dr. Rodriguez. We have a chemical emergency in the building. All students and staff must evacuate immediately. Do not use elevators. Exit through the main doors only. Teachers, activate emergency protocols now." As alarms began sounding throughout the building, Elena was already putting on protective equipment and calculating how much time she had before the nerve agent reached lethal concentrations. VX was designed to be persistent. It would continue killing for hours unless properly neutralized. Her secure phone, which she kept for emergencies she hoped would never come, buzzed with an incoming call. Dr. Rodriguez, this is Colonel Matthews, NBC Defense Command. We're tracking a chemical weapons incident at your location. Status report. Elena moved through her classroom with practiced efficiency, assembling equipment she had hoped never to use again. Colonel, we have confirmed VX release into the school's ventilation system. The estimated quantity suggests enough agent to affect the entire building and surrounding area.
Copy that.
Hazmat teams are en route, ETA 45 minutes.
Sir, that's too long.
VX degrades building materials and spreads beyond containment. If we don't neutralize it in the next 20 minutes, this becomes a neighborhood-wide catastrophe. Dr. Rodriguez, you're a high school teacher. Leave this to the professionals. Elena looked through her classroom window at hundreds of students evacuating into the parking lot, their young faces showing confusion and fear. Colonel, I developed the antidote protocols for VX. I know this compound better than anyone on your hazmat team. There was a pause before the colonel responded. Are you saying you're going back in? I'm saying I never left. Elena ended the call and reviewed the chemical analysis she had conducted in the last 5 minutes. The VX was being dispersed through the HVAC system from a central release point, most likely the mechanical room in the basement. The concentration was increasing rapidly, which meant the perpetrators had used a time-release mechanism designed to maximize casualties. She had two options: wait for the hazmat teams and watch the chemical spread beyond the school, or use her knowledge to neutralize the threat before it became unstoppable. Elena made the same decision she had made thousands of times in military laboratories. She chose to act. Moving through the empty hallways with her portable detection equipment, Elena tracked the VX concentration to its source. The mechanical room door was locked, but she had learned lockpicking skills during her weapons training that had nothing to do with chemistry. Inside the mechanical room, she found what she had expected: a sophisticated chemical dispersal device connected to the school's air circulation system. The device was still actively releasing VX, and her readings showed it contained enough agent to kill everyone within a half-mile radius. Elena photographed the device and sent the images to Colonel Matthews via encrypted message. Then she began the process she had designed but hoped never to implement: emergency neutralization of weapons-grade VX using improvised equipment. Working with materials she had brought from her classroom and supplies found in the school's maintenance area, Elena created a neutralizing compound that would convert the VX into harmless byproducts. The process required precise timing and perfect concentration ratios. One mistake would either fail to neutralize the agent or create toxic reactions that made the situation worse. 23 minutes after the initial detection, Elena successfully neutralized the chemical weapon and shut down the dispersal device. The VX that had already entered the ventilation system would degrade naturally within hours, no longer posing a threat to the evacuated students and staff. As she emerged from the building, Elena was met by hazmat teams, federal agents, and Colonel Matthews, who had arrived by helicopter from Fort Detrick. Dr. Rodriguez, preliminary readings show complete neutralization of the chemical agent. How did you accomplish this with improvised equipment? Elena removed her protective gear and looked across the parking lot where her students were being checked by medical personnel. Colonel, when you spend 12 years creating something, you learn every possible way to destroy it. The investigation that followed revealed that the attack had been planned by a domestic terrorist cell with access to military-grade chemical weapons. The VX had been stolen from a classified facility, and the attackers had chosen Lincoln High School specifically because they believed a suburban school would be unprepared for chemical warfare. They hadn't counted on one of the world's leading experts in chemical weapons neutralization teaching AP chemistry in room 204. Dr. Rodriguez, FBI agent Sarah Kim interviewed Elena in the school's library 3 hours after the incident. Your actions today saved potentially thousands of lives. But we need to understand how a high school chemistry teacher possessed the knowledge and equipment to neutralize a military weapon. Elena looked out the library window at her students, who were being reunited with their families. Agent Kim, some knowledge comes with permanent responsibility. I may have left weapons research, but I never stopped being accountable for what I helped create. Are you saying you feel responsible for today's attack? I'm saying I felt responsible for stopping it. The debriefing lasted 6 hours and involved officials from the Department of Defense, the FBI, and agencies that Elena couldn't identify. When it was over, Colonel Matthews offered her what she had expected. Dr. Rodriguez, the country needs people with your expertise. We're facing chemical weapons threats from state and non-state actors who have access to compounds that most of our specialists have never encountered. You could return to classified research, help us develop better defenses. Elena gathered her teaching materials from room 204, looking at the lesson plans she had prepared for students who would return tomorrow with questions about what had happened. Colonel, I appreciate the offer. But my students need to understand that science can be used to protect people, not just to harm them. What if we could arrange a consulting position? Train our specialists while continuing to teach. Elena considered the offer while reviewing her lesson plans for the next day's classes. I'll consult on defensive measures and antidote development. But I'm not creating weapons anymore. I'm creating scientists who will use chemistry to heal the world. 6 months later, Dr. Elena Rodriguez was still teaching AP Chemistry at Lincoln High School, but now she also spent weekends at Fort Detrick training military specialists in chemical weapons defense. She had found a way to use her deadly expertise to protect lives without returning to the classified world she had left behind. Her classroom had been upgraded with additional safety equipment, and her students now learned not just about molecular structures but about the ethical responsibilities that come with scientific knowledge. She taught them that every chemical reaction could be used to create or destroy, and that the choice belonged to the scientist. Elena had discovered that redemption didn't require forgetting her past. It required using that past to create a better future. The locked cabinet in her classroom still contained equipment that wasn't in any school inventory, but now it also held letters from students who had chosen chemistry majors in college, inspired by a teacher who had shown them that science could be a force for protection rather than destruction. Sometimes the most important battles are fought by people who understand the weapons because they helped create them. Sometimes the best way to atone for past choices is to ensure the next generation makes better ones. Elena Rodriguez had learned that true expertise means knowing not just how to create something dangerous, but how to stop it when others use it for harm. So now I ask you, have you ever known someone whose technical knowledge suggested they had experience with much more serious applications? Someone who understood dangerous things because they had once worked with them professionally? Share their story in the comments below. Tell us about the experts in your life who use specialized knowledge to protect rather than harm. And if this story moved you, if it reminded you that redemption often comes through service to others, hit that subscribe button and join the Daily Story community. We're here to honor the technical experts, the reformed specialists, the people who turn dangerous knowledge into protection for others. Thank you for watching, and remember, the next time a teacher emphasizes safety procedures or demonstrates unusual expertise, look a little closer. You might be learning from someone who has dedicated their life to ensuring that dangerous knowledge is used only to protect others.